I'll be continuing a topic that we started 2 weeks ago about aging, old age, illness, and death. And I'm going to go into aging with a statement that I found in some of the research I've been doing, and just having that be a focus for a little while. You start to notice it everywhere. So this is something I pulled up from the internet, and I found this. It's a statement on the Center for Healthy Aging. Across all cultures, there's a consensus that aging comes with a decrease in physical attractiveness. Some cultures, ours included, even go so far to consider aging ugly. Okay, that's not helpful. I just was like, all right, I want to look into this a little bit more. And I want to say that I don't believe aging is ugly, and that's not something that I want to cultivate. But we are living in a culture where the mainstream considers youth and beauty as a very strong focus. I just think it can't help but impact the way I feel. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit more, about the way we feel in our aging bodies. And it's also very typical of popular culture. When one thing is beautiful, another thing is ugly. So I went to a concert truck. This is the newest thing in our area, where a truck pulls up and rather than food, they serve a concert. And it was in a parking lot at the library. And there were two young women musicians, a pianist and a bassoonist. And it wasn't my favorite music. I really didn't like a lot of the pieces that they chose. But the beauty of the way they played their instruments, of their bodies, of their vitality, of their presentation, I just thought youth is beautiful, and went to that adage of, it's also wasted on the young. But I had that just sense of uplift of being around young people in the prime of their life, doing a skill that I couldn't even imagine doing. So while it may seem a little superficial to even talk about attractiveness in a Dharma talk, I had some of that going on when I wrote this. When I looked up the definition of attractiveness, I could just see that Buddhism has a lot of opinions on attractiveness, physical attractiveness. There's a caution. Don't pay too much attention to this. Be careful. Don't go into it too much. You'll get caught up and entangled. And we may say that we're just looking to see where the focus on attractiveness leads to harm or to hurt. And really for knowing that in our own experience. So of course I'm going to read you a definition. There's three for attractiveness that I found. The first two seemed kind of linked. The quality of being pleasing or pleasing to the senses, or appealing to the senses. And the second one, the quality of being appealing or sexually alluring to look at. And that there's a lot said about that in the Buddhist suttas, especially coming from a monastic view, where the monks were celibate and they were really looking at practices to stop this kind of chain of what happens when you're taken over by something that's physically attractive, and it can get you in trouble. And we need to look at that. That's, part of our larger culture too. But the last definition was curious for me: the possession of qualities or features that arouse interest. And in reflective meditation, our practice is a lot about looking at what interests us. What direction do we want to go? Can we start to trust the process of following what interests us, that it will be wholesome, that it will be beneficial? Again, I'm using Buddhist words here, that it will lead us in a onward leading path. And I feel like this definition kind of opens the door on attractiveness, physical attractiveness, and looking at, the way we term it to ourselves. So that's what I wanted to, kind of dive into a little bit more, is my ideas about what is attractive, and how that's changed as I age. And when I started thinking about it a little bit more, I thought, well, actually, a lot of these views I know from a young age of what I think is attractive. I mean, they're not new. And when we look at our preferences and what we're attracted to or drawn to, we often call those sankhara in Buddhism. They're habits and propensities and proclivities that just repeat again and again, and hopefully refine as we look at them and understand them more and see what how they operate in our world. But one of the things I landed on was I want to be comfortable. This has always been something for me in my clothes that I wear, and the way I do my hair, and not wearing makeup. All of that is really based on this kind of I want to be comfortable. And it really fit in with the lifestyle that I chose early on, an alternative lifestyle, being an acupuncturist and going a more natural direction. But there have been attempts for me from others, my family members or people that I've dated, to be more attractive, to wear makeup, to do your hair a certain way, and that this not doing that means more of like a lack of self-care or a lack of self-esteem. So it's really trying to figure out where some of these ideas around attractiveness and the way we make ourselves attractive to ourselves and to others, where do they come from, and what are we railing against? What kind of tension is there from the culture and others in our life? For me, another view is I don't want to be too inconvenienced. So I don't color my hair because it's easier. It's just, it's less expensive, it's easier. Others may find that that's worth the effort, that is actually helped them feel good about themselves. And there's a way that I don't want to say one is better than the other. We're really looking at like why we do something, why others do something. And there's also this kind of, add a little purple these days, live it up, have a little bit of fun. I see that around a lot. And, another thing with this not wanting to be too inconvenienced is that I want to have a healthy body. I want to have less sagging breasts, tummy, arms, but I don't really want to do all that work to try to maintain that all the way through the kind of dieting or extreme exercise that it would take to keep a body in the shape that would be someone else's ideal, no longer mine, I'm happy to say. So my prompt this morning is a little bit in the direction of, how do you feel attractive in an aging body? What do you end up doing? What does this mean to you? What kind of impact or influence are others putting on you to look a certain way? And what trips you up in this whole attractiveness thing? Okay.